Hi, I'm Joe Freeman of the Oregonian, and this is Mike Richman, sans mustache of the Oregonian, and we are bringing you a Trailblazers post-game video report. The Blazers have just lost another crusher, this time to the Dallas Mavericks, 115 to 112 in overtime. They blew a 7-point lead with about a minute and 40-something left in regulation. Were just mutilated by Darren Williams and Dirk Nowitzki repeatedly, including in overtime when Darren Williams had scored 9 of his 30 points. And then at the end of regulation, Damian Lillard had a chance with 6 seconds left to end the game, and he did not deliver. He missed a deep three-pointer from the top of the key. A little bit of a controversial shot, or I wouldn't say controversial, but questionable shot. You figure with 6 seconds the Blazers could get a better look than that, but we can get into more of that in a bit. First and foremost, beyond the final score and beyond some more late game woes for the Blazers was, more importantly, the return of Wesley Matthews, who came back to Portland for the first time as a visitor after spending the last 5 years here. He got a very loud and warm standing ovation from the sellout crowd during pregame introductions, or at least what was here of the sellout crowd before the opening horn, and he gave an appreciative wave to the crowd, and he spoke before and after, and he seemed to, was kind of, a couple people described it as weird to see him back, and it was weird to see him not only in a different uniform, but wearing number 23.
It was a little bit strange, and he was a big part of that late comeback. He had 2 threes to spark. Dallas was down 10 with about 5 minutes left. He had 2 threes to get it started, and then Dirk kind of finished it off. He had a 3 and then a tip in with 6 seconds left, which set up that late Lillard miss. But before the kind of meltdown, blowing a 7-point lead with a minute 45, the Blazers played pretty well. This was for 3+ quarters, maybe 3 quarters and 10 minutes. They played well enough to win. The bench was absolutely huge. 73 points off the bench, a new season high. Myers Leonard had 23, one shy of his career high. Gerald Henderson, best game as a Blazer, 20 points. And Allen Crabbe had a career high 18. But all that kind of gets thrown out the window with a really bad fourth quarter and an overtime when Dallas just absolutely dominated them.
Yeah, it was interesting to see both Terry Stotts and the Blazers in the post-game locker room. This one seemed, you've heard a lot of talk about it's part of the process, and this is a rebuilding season, and it's the 3rd youngest team in the league, and blah, 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 blah. But this one seemed to affect them a little more negatively. They took this one a little harder than maybe some of the previous late-game meltdowns. And I think more than anything is it's what Mike talked about. They played well for 46.5 minutes, and then it was as if none of it meant anything. And it's okay to go through that and then show improvement, but when you continue to go through that and you show improvement and then you take a couple steps back and then you continue to take steps back and you're seeing the same problems over and over again, that can become a little disheartening. And I think you're seeing a rebuilding team that's trying to figure out how to win these late games, and they're growing frustrated with their inability to deliver. There was a couple really bad shots late. I mean, CJ had a couple forced drives and too much dribbling, and he was blocked and had a shot clock violation on one. Dame was blocked on a late drive. And after the game, took a while for Terry Stotts to come out to address the media, and it turns out that he showed his team 3 or 4 late game clips immediately after the game to go through poor execution and poor decision making, and maybe this is what we could have done here and there. Was kind of I think Terry used it as a teaching moment, and man, we're seeing a lot of these teaching moments.
Yeah, well, it's one thing to not be good enough and to be overmatched like they were last night against Los Angeles when Damian Lillard missed the game. It's another thing to play better than the Mavericks and lose, and I think that's why Terry Stotts was really frustrated. That's why there was a really somber locker room, because this was a game they could have won and probably should have won.
Yeah, and we didn't give you Wesley's final line, I don't believe. He finished with 18 points and 5 rebounds, added an assist and 2 steals in 40 minutes, which is ironic because before the game, this is the second game of a back-to-back, before the game, Dallas coach Rick Carlisle said no NBA player should be playing high 30s into the 40s, so who knows what the heck that was about. But, watching Wes, he doesn't look quite right yet, and Terry Stotts talked a little bit about this pregame. He says that Wesley always ran kind of funny, which is true, but he's clearly not 100% from that Achilles, and it's a testament to his heart and his reserve and his resolve, which you've all seen in spades over the last 5 years, that he's even playing right now. So it was nice, I think, for the Blazers to see their former teammate out here, and I think Damian Lillard mentioned just nice to see him playing again. And Carlisle kind of talked about it's a process, and he certainly isn't a finished product, I believe was one of his quotes about Wes, and we'll see what that looks like in another couple months. Maybe by then the Blazers will be able to close close out a win. We'll see.
Yeah, here's the bad news. The Pacers are really good and they're coming to town on Thursday, and then the Blazers go on a 4-game, 7-day road trip, so it's not going to get any easier.
Until then, we've got the Pacers on Thursday. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya!